Hi and welcome back to the channel. I was thinking the other day what my town used to be like when I was a lot younger, and all the shops that we had in the high streets in those days. We had a Curry's, we had a Rumbelows, we had a Radio Rentals, we had a Lipton's, we had an International, we had a Wallace's, we had the Co-op. We had lots of small retailers in the town, men's outfitters, ladies' outfitters, greengrocers, butchers, and we had lots of banks. We had every bank there is in the country in the town. Building societies, estate agents. We had a whole proliferary of shops in our high street. Where have they all gone? You go down the town today and what do you see? You see coffee shops, you see beauty shops, nail bars, hairdressers, and cafes by the hundreds. Where have all of our lovely little shops gone? I remember going to a men's outfitters here, and it was only a small shop. And if you got two people in there, you had a crowd. But it was a lovely shop. It sold everything that you required as a man, that is. Trousers, jumpers, shirts, t-shirts, socks, underwear, everything you required. And it was all good quality. All lasted a very long time. Socks you could wear for weeks on end without a hole appearing in the heel. Unlike today's socks, I've only got to wear them for 2 days and I've got a hole in the heels. But we had so many different kinds of shops. There were retailers in the high street that had been trading for 100 years, passed on from one generation to the next. But they have all disappeared. They have all gone. We had a Barclays, we had a Lloyd's, we had a Halifax, TSB, banks. All gone. We haven't got a bank here at all anymore. And they write to you and they say to you, you can still use a branch, your local branch. Well, my local branch is either Sudbury or Braintree. I don't drive, so that means I've got to get a bus, or I've got to walk, or cycle out there. It's not convenient for me. So I've had to change the way that I bank. So I've had to do online banking, which I was very anti to start with. I now have a credit card machine, so I take credit card payments for when I work, which means I don't have to go to the bank anymore. So I've had to adapt and change. Have you adapted? Have you changed? It's a strange world that we live in, when there isn't really any decent retailers anywhere in the town anymore, and it is such a shame. I remember the old Co-op that we had at the bottom of the town, an emporium as they would call it. You'd go into the front doors, the double front doors at the front, you'd go in there and you'd turn left, and in there would be men's outfitters where you could rent a suit, you could rent a dinner jacket, you could buy all kinds of clothing for men. It had everything. Then you had shoe department in there. You had drapery, nets, curtains. You could buy material for making clothes, anything to do with sewing. You had the ladies department, the other side. You could buy anything you required if you were a lady. Undergarments, dresses, all kinds of things. And then upstairs you had the furniture department where you could buy 3-piece suites. You could buy sideboards. You could buy tables and chairs. They had a carpet department where you could buy carpets and lino and rugs. They had a bedroom department. You could buy beds and all kinds of things. There was the office was up there where you would go to get your divvy once a month, or once every 4 months, 5 months. You'd go and get your divvy, and you'd come out, in those days, you'd come out with cash, real money, that you could spend somewhere else. Not like today, you'd give them vouchers and cheques and things. There was a little coffee shop up there in the co-op as well, upstairs. A little Greasy Joe Cafe. Lovely little cafe it was. I remember the elderly lady who worked in there. She used to wear a little white hat on her head, and she smoked, so she had a cigarette in her hand, which is not done today. But it was a nice little cafe. I remember having egg and chips up there and a cup of tea with Mum and Dad in the good old days. The co-op had a funeral parlour round the back, undertakers. They had a dairy round the back. They had an electrical department where you could buy anything electrical: television, record player, toaster, kettle. They had a crockery department, saucepans, plates, knives, forks, anything to do with that kind of thing. They had a coal yard where you could buy coal, wood, kindling, paraffin, all delivered to your door. Those days have all gone. That lovely shop has gone. It closed many years ago, and we really don't have a big co-op store here anymore. We've got 2 small co-op stores, but all of that has disappeared. Currys in the high street, where you could go and buy electrical items, washing machines, tumble dryers, record players, all that kind of stuff. We haven't got a Currys. They disappeared years ago, and they moved to out-of-town shopping centres, which is very difficult for the likes of me to get to if you don't drive, isn't it? We had a Rumbelows, same kind of thing as Currys. I know Rumbelows went bust quite a few years ago, but we had one. Radio rentals, where you could go into the shop and you could rent a television, and you could have it at home, and you pay £3 or a few quid each month for it. Great idea. We had a TV from Radio Rentals for a long time. We did. But how our high streets have changed with the disappearing market as well, that has gone as well, as I've done before in a previous video about the Friday market that just disappeared. The high street was a hive of activity when I was a kid, full of all kinds of shops, all kinds of specialised shops as well. In some aspects, they specialised in certain things. It is such a shame, really, really, really is a shame that these shops have all disappeared, and we're left with what we have in our high streets now. If you like to eat, and if you like to have your hair done and your nails done, and you're into being beautified, well then you're in your element in the high streets today, because that's all you can do there. You can. Until the next one, guys, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all again very soon. Bye for now.